Hello and welcome everyone. Today we've got an exciting conversation talking about AI generated art and how it relates to your video game journey you're on. I'm joined as always by Tim. G'day Tim, and our special, amazing, wonderful, I was going to say guest, but Grant, you're one of the family, so guest/family. And I know that we've got our channel hooked up today to a whole bunch of different places, so you might be watching this somewhere unusual, somewhere crazy. You should be able to ask us questions, then we'll see it in the chat. If not, if you're having any issues at all, please go to the GameDev.tv YouTube channel where you'll be able to watch it live and definitely be able to ask us questions. So I want to kick off with a general, before we get into the nuts and bolts of things. Tim, could you give us just the 1 minute or 30-second overview of what is AI generated art? Maybe you can show us some stuff as well, but just what the heck is it? Why is everyone so hyped about it?
Yeah, so AI art is basically a program that can generate images based on a series of pattern recognitions all over the internet. So you can generate all kinds of cool and interesting images. And I want to show some stuff up front of kind of what this thing can do, just so we can kind of look at it. The way that the stream is going to work generally, just so people know, is we're going to kind of go over what it is and what it does. Then we're going to share a little bit of how to actually do it, because there's some people who don't know how to generate stuff. And then we're going to kind of have some fun with it and find some prompts and stuff like that as well. So if we go ahead and share this. So if Midjourney is going to be the first AI I'm going to show you, but these are just some of the images that this AI has been able to generate. And
so when you say that, Tim, it means someone's got there and typed in some stuff and the AI has said, okay, here's what, I'll just build this for you.
Right. So it's a prompt-based artificial intelligence, which basically can just take verbal prompts and turn them into images like this. And some of these are absolutely stunning.
Can you see the
and amazing.
From there? Can you tell us if you see any?
No. So let's dive in. Let me go ahead and start the thing, and then I'll show you guys kind of how.
So excited! I'm jumping the gun. I know. I'm like, show us some stuff, Tim.
Okay. So first thing you want to do is you want to go to midjourney.com. If you pull that up, and then you can hit the join the beta button, and that will allow you to see Discord, which I'm going to pull up now.
So I'm just reading the chat, and someone's asked for it. Yeah, you saw it as well.
It's going to happen. Hey Tim, when you're ready to generate something,
okay. So this is our Discord, but we're going to go to the Midjourney Discord. So this is a live layout of people actively generating images. So someone generated a dog with hat and flowers posing in pink setting, professional photography, ultra realistic 8K, and this is what the AI came up with. Now, generally, when you generate an image, it's going to give you 4 versions of it, and then you can iterate on those versions with these. These are different version numbers, and then you can get up-res versions of individual images. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So once you're in, you're going to get a cool message from Midjourney. It's going to kind of explain the basics. It's going to tell you what channel to go in and how some of the stuff works. But I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna show you in one of these channels. For some reason it started to go super slow. So a lot of people in here using it, and it only works for Discord, so it's a little weird. But basically I'm gonna type /imagine, and it's gonna ask for a prompt. And now we need a prompt. We need to figure out what we want to generate in AI. So let's say we want a skeleton dancing. Oh man, people are already generating skeletons. Okay. Skeleton dancing with a dog dragging its butt.
Oh yeah. Scooting.
Let's see what happens. Oh man, butt is a banned word. Okay, so this is a bad example.
Yachting with the dog scooting.
All right. Dog scooting.
And if you haven't joined our livecast before, you might be saying, why? That seems super inappropriate. But this is something that our community came up with. A dog dragging its butt. Wasn't us?
What should the street be made of?
For some reason, they think draggy dog is funny. I think it's a very inappropriate, immature
street made of technology. I don't know. And then we're going to say Unreal Engine 8K. And I'm going to tell you why I did that in just a second. Oh, I didn't do the prompt. Man, this stream is fun. /imagine I'll do it. All right, so it takes a little while to generate. There's a paid version of this that allows you to put it into fast mode or relax mode. And those are two different modes. Relax basically kind of generates it whenever, and fast mode will try to give you direct kind of GPU access, which is cool. So it's generating our image now. You can see a lot of people are using this to generate really cool images. And then what they can do is when they find a cool image, let's say, you like one of these three, let's say we like this one, we can click on V4, which will give us a different version of the fourth generated image, which is really cool. And then you can iterate on stuff from there. The other thing is a lot of people will they'll use these images and they'll iterate on them, but then they'll bring them into Photoshop or they'll combine them into different ways and all that stuff. So dog scooting along street, made of technology, Unreal Engine 8K. So this is what it generated. These are 4 different images here. And one of the things I've realized about AI is it never generates the image that you have in your head. Like almost never. Like it's never, you just think of the thing and then you type in the prompts and it generates exactly what you're thinking. It almost always generates something different than what you were thinking. But I think that's part of the fun is you can kind of find something similar and kind of use it as inspiration and like go along with that. Right. So let's generate another prompt. Rick, why don't you help me out here? Because you're the idea guy. You're good with
I always like the
concepts.
anthropomorphic. So anthropomorphic. What sort of animal should we go for? Dolphin. Anthropomorphic dolphin.
That's a hard word.
Riding a skateboard.
Dolphin riding skateboard. So one of the other things that you probably saw me do there that a lot of people do is at the end of their prompt, they add in kind of keywords. So ultra detailed, high rendering, 8K, ultra complex, this kind of stuff. And you end up with different looks and different styles. So what would you say is a style that you want in this?
I would say in the
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh. I was about to say Van Gogh. Oh, it's like Grant, it's like we're aligned or something. It's amazing.
An
interesting question is who owns the end image is what the chat are asking. Have they actually got any licensing?
So they do, and licensing and ethical and stuff, I think we should all talk about kind of at the end because it's complicated. There is a license, but the license, it's a complicated issue that we're going to kind of discuss. We're definitely going to get to that though. Yeah. Okay, so painting, anything else we should throw in here for style? What do you guys think? Anthropomorphic dolphin. Okay, abstract's good. That might get us some weird results. Did I spell that right?
You're getting a few suggestions from the chat as well. Game of Thrones.
Okay, I'm gonna double check this word.
Yeah, I did one of those. I did it Harry Potter style for one of the things I was playing around with, and it was really bang on. And just after this, we'll have a look at DALL-E 2. I think Grant, you're gonna give us a quick look at DALL-E 2. That has been DALL-E 2 is another Mid-Journey, or Mid-Journey is another DALL-E 2, another 2D AI art
different
generator.
Version of it.
Different version. And it's been in a more of a invite only beta up until now, but now anyone can access DALL-E 2 and just dive straight in and start creating stuff. And I don't know the monetization on Mid-Journey, Tim. We can talk about DALL-E 2 in a moment, but do you have to pay for anything on Mid-Journey to access it, to generate it, or is it free to create?
So you get 25 free things that you can generate within the Discord channel. After that, it's $10 a month, and it gives you X amount of generations per month. I believe if you put it in relax mode, it doesn't actually count towards your redemptions. So if you put it in relax mode, and basically that puts you kind of to the end of the priority list, they'll allow you to generate stuff for.
Relax mode means it takes longer to make stuff?
It takes much longer, but it doesn't count towards your thing. Because some people, fast you want it to generate as you're doing it.
If you want pay to win, then you have to. Oh, look at that!
This is amazing though. Like it took the style. It understood. It's got like the swirlies in there from Van Gogh. It's got a lot of like details. Right?
The fact that it hasn't just gone and clipped out an image and clipped out another image and merged them together. It's actually pixel by pixel created this image based upon what it thinks. So dolphins are blue. Okay, we'll make the thing blue. Van Gogh has swirls. Okay, I'll put in swirls. Skateboard. This is what a skateboard looks like.
Yeah.
And there's so many images when you go through it that it's kind of morphed together in a weird. It's not crisp. So if you look at the
Right.
top right one there, there's a skateboard wheel on one of its feet, and the head's
Right.
kind of smudged. So it and it's this abstract style we put in there as well. So we're going to get some of this abstract stuff.
Right.
So like you said before, Tim, sometimes it does need cleaning up. So my
Yeah.
personal feeling at this stage is AI art hasn't just instantly replaced artists, but
Yeah.
it's going to
No.
evolve the role of the artist, and it's certainly going to evolve the role of the concept artist. So I think
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot more driving the machine, but still needing to dig the hole with the machine.
For
The
sure.
machine's not going to dig the hole entirely by itself.
Yeah.
And there are definitely weaknesses, right? Like you'll notice that it's not very good at eyes. And usually if it gets one eye right, it doesn't get the other eye right. So specifically, like it's really good at these kind of like far off kind of, things
Yeah.
that don't require these upfront facial features, but like you can tell like the eyes, it never gets quite right. Those are really complex. And
It's
then
kind of
a lot
smudged it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's just, a result of kind of the algorithm. But for like more abstract stuff like this is fantastic. Like this looks like
Yeah.
like a painting or like a stylized version. Even this, like that's
Tim,
insane.
could you show us that same search, but just change one keyword? For example, from instead of Van Gogh, can you say like um, ultra realistic or something?
Well, why don't we try an alternate version of that? So just to show how that works. So which one did you like the best?
Top left.
Top left, yeah, that's cool.
Go top left.
Cool.
Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is called rolling, basically like rolling a dice kind of. So we're going to click version 1. So we're going to take that version, and then we're going to should be able to rebuild it. There's two different things. Sorry.
While it's
So
rebuilding, sorry, Tim.
go ahead.
I was going to say, while it's rebuilding, I'll just welcome the folks who might not have joined us at the very start. We're looking at AI art, myself, Tim and Grant. And thanks to all the inputs we've got in chat. If you want to chat and you're having trouble catching the chat, then jump over to our GameDev.tv YouTube channel, and you'll find the chat pretty easily to do chatty type stuff. And Tim's currently showing us Mid-Journey.
Yeah. So while these are regenerating the different versions, let's change the prompt a little bit. So anthropomorphic dolphin riding a skateboard. And do we want to change the
this
style?
work in progress? What you're getting ones in there? Are they halfway through, or is that a previous one? What's the one on your screen now?
This one?
Yeah.
This is the one that it regenerated based on. So when you click the version number, this is complicated with everyone else doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
The paid version, by the way, you can send direct messages to. So you can do it by yourself, which is really cool.
Oh, okay. You don't have all the other people's
Yeah, you
chat
don't
on
have to
it.
do it in the chat with everybody. So we like
was
the
our
top
first
left one.
Yeah.
So we clicked a version of that. So we wanted to basically take this and make different versions of it. And so what that did is it generated these. So those are basically variations of the one that we picked. And then the other thing we did is we reloaded the prompt. So it basically took the same prompt and generated more images. So that's what it came up with here. And same style, same everything, but just different images. And then what we're about to do is retype the same prompt with a different style. So what if we say like, we see a bunch of cyberpunk stuff in here. I would love to see what a cyberpunk dolphin looks like.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Cyberpunk dolphin, yeah.
Actually, someone has asked, can we use the system for game characters? So should we try a game character? Type that as a title or whatever, a keyword.
Sure. Let's try that. So game character. Let's see what that comes up with. You know what else I've noticed is that the words like Unreal Engine is actually pretty good at styling stuff. So Unreal has a very good like kind of look to it. If you type the Unreal Engine into the prompt, it gives you stuff that kind of looks like it was made in Unreal Engine. Cyberpunk
Hey, after you generate this one, Tim, what do you guys think about us having a battle between Mid-Journey and DALL-E 2 if you create the exact same thing and see who wins? So we can have it side by side on our screen, and Grant can do a DALL-E 2, and Tim, you can do a Mid-Journey. Seems like a very video game thing to do.
I think Mid-Journey is a lot nicer, personally, looking at the results compared to DALL-E. But maybe it's better at different things. I don't know. Haven't played with it enough.
The screen is all blurry. Yes. Oh,
Okay,
whose
so this
screen's
is
all blue?
generating. You can see it in kind of progress too. Like it kind of takes the color palette and then it goes over it and adds detail. It actually
that's
updates in real
interesting.
time as well. So now it's got a little bit more detail in some of the lights, and now it's got some of the more cyberpunky elements, and it's 81%, and then it's going to update again.
That's really fascinating, isn't it, to see that process of generating the color palette first and the shapes and the positions, and then to paint
Yeah,
in the details. It's really interesting.
this is insane. This is like a cyberpunk dolphin on a skateboard in the
Wow.
city. This is crazy. Let's take, before we jump over to Dolly, let's take a suggestion from the chat. Let's see
Yeah,
what
good idea.
other people want to do. Let's see. Is there anything you guys seeing that we could pull
Okay,
out?
so let's have a look through here. Oh, well, the suggestion was character art, was there not?
So let's come up with a character. Like, what would be a main character? Like a wizard.
Wizard. I like it.
All right. Let's say.
Can you say like video game wizard?
Video game wizard
jumping over a. Do we want to say platformer style?
We should give it a like a pixel art or vector style, and we should give it like a.
Let's do pixel art. That'd be interesting to see. I think there'd be a lot of pixel artists out there wondering how well we can go with pixel art.
You've got a few suggestions in the chat.
What are they saying?
Pretty crazy stuff coming out.
All right, I see casting spells, generating. Okay. Just pick out some words in chat while I'm typing this, and we'll just add them to the wizard character.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi, yep. A sci-fi wizard? Why not?
So, all right, wizard character with a dog.
Wand.
With a wand. That's so crazy. We could have add a wand to our wizard.
It'd be interesting to see if it actually puts the wand in the hand, though, as opposed to like the wand's growing out of its head or something.
Okay, somebody said jumping on a trampoline. Sure.
Yeah.
Jumping
fighting
on
a lobster.
Trampoline. Okay. Fighting a lobster.
Can you have video game in there somewhere just to kind of say that, hey, we want a video pixel art video game.
At the end. Video game.
Gary's telling us that pixel art doesn't work very well, apparently. So maybe
we want to try something else like vector art, maybe.
Let's try pixel art just from the point of view of I want to see is this going to replace everyone tomorrow?
Yeah,
I want to get a bit of a feel for that. It's still new. We've all had a bit of a play around with it. I think most of the people watching now have probably seen it and maybe even played around with it themselves. But the fundamental underlying question is how long until all the non-artists don't have to worry about art ever again? They just need to know how to type in words into a thing. So, is the job of the artist going away is my fundamental question in all of this. And the answer might be yes, but not for another 10 years. Or the answer might be no, it's just going to change how artists work. And so, Grant, as our resident artist, you're in the best position to be looking at this and saying, well, there's still a long way to go. Or, this is fine for concept art, but, there's still a lot that an artist needs to be able to do. But I'm really interested, before we're done today's conversation, to look at all the artists out there who might be a little bit worried, which is my first reaction when I saw this stuff. I was like, holy wow, what should we or shouldn't we be worried about?
Yeah. People are saying we're not live right now, but okay, we're live. I don't know what to tell you about not being live. Okay, so this is what it ended up generating. So this is a final version. So this is wizard character with wand jumping on a trampoline, fighting a lobster, video game pixel art 2D game assets. So this made a lobster wizard. And this is one of the coolest characters I've seen. I love this. I would totally make a game about a lobster wizard. And this is just a lobster. This is actually close to our prompt. It's not much of a wizard, but like it's got a trampoline, it's got a wand, and there's a lobster there that it's fighting. He's got lobster hands and he's holding his wand with his foot. So that's interesting. And then that looks like a bug of some kind. I'm not really sure what that is. But yo, this I would use for I would use this in like my design doc for a game of like, this is what the main character should look like, right? I think that's what we've found a lot using a lot of these AI tools is they're not great at generating direct art for games so much as concept art and like
As
ideas
ideas,
and
yeah.
concepts. Yeah. The other thing is like I'm really into card games and stuff too. And I have noticed a lot of this art would probably be pretty good for like card game art, like trading card game. And like this could totally be a card called the Three Skeletons or something, you know, like I could totally see that on a card
Yeah.
or something like that.
Hey, Tim, could you show us something a little bit more simple? Because I feel that when we have, you know, wand, trampoline, lobster, etc., it's good concept art, but it's detracting from the character
Right.
itself. Can we focus
Yeah.
on just do one more before we introduce DALL-E 2 into the battle and get Grant more active in generation?
Right.
One more that's just a character that might be something we could use in our game. So maybe it's a vector style this time.
Okay.
But just
So
like
what are we thinking? Chat, what are we thinking?
what do we think? Just a character, not too out there crazy, something you actually might put in your game, in a 2D platformer game. So I don't know if using the words 2D platformer, constrain it to, it'll then look at other images and be like, oh, that's what a 2D platformer character looks like. But not too out there crazy. I think I've enjoyed the concept art stage of it, but I'm really skeptical on the, can it actually make us a good player character? Can it actually make us a boss enemy? Something that I can take that asset and just go blop into my game.
Okay. I see skeleton. I see priest baby.
Probably not a priest baby.
Space
Draggy
Marine.
dog. Well, you know I want a draggy dog, but I haven't found a. Yeah. Anyway, I won't reveal.
Let's try. Okay, I like Space Marine because there's probably a lot of stuff. Like if we're actually trying to generate some real game art here and not do something silly, let's try Space Marine, 2D platformer, vector art. For playing to all the strengths of what this can do. Vector art, 2D game asset. What kind of style would it be? Maybe like vibrant or muted. What do you guys think?
Yeah, sure. I do wonder if video game is a style. Might not be, but
probably we could try video game, 2D platformer, vector art, 2D game asset.
Yeah, see how that goes.
Let's see.
I'm skeptical. If I'm sitting there saying, "Oh, I've been working on my prototype in Unity and I've got some stuff going on, and gee, it'd be cool to get a nicer looking character. Maybe this AI stuff can figure out a good character for me that I don't have to learn how to get into Photoshop and modify."
That's insane. That's insane. That's absolutely bonkers. And like it took a like look at this paragraph to create that. Yeah. Part of the cool thing about Midjourney, and even though it's kind of complicated to generate your own stuff in these rooms, you get to see what everyone else is making. And like, you know, one thing it's definitely good at is kind of concept art or kind of, you know, ideas and stuff like that. More like key art for a game, I think it'd be really good for. Look at this, like a death angel.
How are we going with our thing? Oh, I see. It's got some clouds.
I think we might have added too many keywords in it, and it might have given us something that's a little bland for what we want.
That's my feeling. The more keywords is often not better.
There's definitely a skill then, isn't there, of working with the AI at the moment, and that's something to learn. It's not just does it for you. There is a skill to it.
Right. Talking to the machine is definitely a thing you got to learn. Now this, you know, this is what I mean by it doesn't actually generate what you ask for a lot of times, but it generates stuff that might work. So as long as you're open to working with the machine, you can like this could totally be a color palette and a style for a game by itself, right? Like I like these little angled clouds. I like the bevel on some of the whites. It goes down to a darker. It's got the little planet in the back. It's got a little spaceship. That kind of stuff. So it's interesting. And how it all works. So it's not quite what we wanted, but
not quite. Well, let's do a battle. And then I think it'd be good. There's lots and lots of questions. So I want to acknowledge that there's lots of questions in chat, lots of discussion about copyright and use and attribution, lots of questions about the future of artists, etc. First, let's have a look at DALL-E 2. So Grant, if you're able to share your screen with DALL-E 2 going, and I think we can do a side by side. And then if we get a prompt that we can see both of these things going.
Sorry, in the program, how do I share my screen?
Down in the middle, there's a little picture of a box with an arrow up. Yes. But I'm really interested. I think we could talk for hours about the legalities and the ethics and all that kind of stuff.
I might not have the access to share my screen, perhaps. I'm not
that's
sure.
a little bit odd. So do you have the button down the middle, bottom? You have mute, and then disable camera, and then share screen. Third one along.
Ah, that's weird. If I come out of full screen mode now, I can do it. That's cool.
Oh, you're in full screen mode. Yeah.
Right, my fault.
Sorry,
I'm almost
Grant's
there.
new to computers, so it's a little bit.
Yeah. It's the fun thing working with the GameDev.tv team. I'm the artist, and everybody else is the techie person, and they laugh at me a lot. Okay, so this is DALL-E, or is this? Yeah, this is DALL-E. So it's very easy to sign up, and you'll get to this screen basically when you sign up, and you can start typing in prompts here. So, give me some ideas.
Well, let's do exactly the same thing. So if we can narrow down and see like head to head how we go. I'm still really interested in something. Maybe it's an environment we do this time rather than a character. So, like some sort of the equivalent of a, it's 2D once again. The equivalent of a background, for example, like for a platformer. Maybe just a platformer to see what happens, like a 2D video game platformer in an industrial style.
Yeah, looking at some of these DALL-E images, I almost wonder if like FPS might be like a more of a 3D
to go
stuff.
more FPS.
Well, let's see what happens with 2D.
FPS
like
is
it's
3D.
It's not usable game art, but it would be more like concept art, I guess.
Concept art, yeah. I'm still on this quest for, can I get some stuff I can put into my video game?
Okay. Okay, this is interesting.
So this is very similar to Midjourney, except it's a little bit easier in some ways because you haven't got everybody's work coming up. But you can kind of see the results are different. It does seem to be a different engine, a bit different beast.
Tim, would you be so kind as to do the same?
I'm going to try the same exact
prompt. Let me see if I can get both going at the same time. No, sorry, messing around with different layouts. It's kind of the best we've got.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be interesting.
So we'll be able to see Tim's screen, also seeing the previous things for Grant.
Well, let's show Grant's while mine's generating.
Okay, so that's Grant.
Yeah. And also, if you wanted to change, can you still see my screen there? Yeah, you can. So if, for example, this image here, I can click on the top here and generate variations. I won't do that yet because we need to keep it vanilla for the competition.
So which one of those, I'll just go back to our other view so we can see your screen. Which one of those do you like, Grant? Which of those do you look at and say, that's interesting?
This makes me think of a platformer. You know, it's got the sort of levels a bit more, and it's very nice and side on. This one as well is interesting, but a little bit too quirky. But this one really does sort of make me think of early platformers, 80s platformers.
Yeah.
I do like the red one just in terms of like that could be a little boss battle area.
Yeah.
And that for me, like, again, from an ideas point of view and from a concept art point of view, I look at that and I'm like, you know what? Yes, I could have a fight and it's kind of in this danger zone and there's pipes up the top where things are dripping down and there's whatever that is, water in the middle that's safe zone. So from an idea generation point of view, it's sparking an idea for me.
It makes me think of, can you remember Double Dragon, the fight games?
Yeah, definitely. It's got vibes. You know, the other thing that it tends to get really right are like color palettes. You know, like it tends to be pretty, like at least closer than I would be if I just made something from scratch. Like it's got colors that tend to work well together. Like especially that one on the right, like the blues and stuff like that. It's got several shades of blue that seem to really work well together.
Yeah. How's yours going, Tim?
Okay, so this is what mine looks like. It didn't really generate. I mean, it's got more of a stylized thing. Like I could maybe use this one as a background or something.
Did you tell it industrial? Like, why have we got all these?
Well, that's what Grant put in the prompt. I put the exact same prompt he put in.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Oh, you put in industrial? Did you? Oh, okay, cool.
Someone must have said it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because I would say DALL-E is looking more interesting for game concepts, whereas as in ideas, but Midjourney's more sort of almost a finished piece of concept art, as if this is the ideas level, and then you go on to Midjourney for the something you deliver to your backers or something like that.
And I think this brings up a really good point too, because I don't think I've ever seen a piece of artwork generated from this that was just like you can use out the gate. I think most of the stuff needs kind of editing. And even this stuff, let's say you wanted to make a game from that DALL-E generated art, I think you'd still have to go in, you'd have to clean it up a little bit, you'd have to cut it up into kind of a tile map, you'd have to do a bunch of stuff to it. So I don't see this as much as like this is going to replace artists. I see this as a tool that artists are going to use to kind of shave some time off of their workload. And the other thing is it pulls ideas and concepts from other places as well. So, an artist can only kind of create what's in their head and the inputs that they've had. So it's kind of cool to pull from different inspirations that you don't even know about.
Do you want to do the edit image?
Yeah, I was going to say it has got an edit image. I was doing this today, sort of getting all excited about it. So I haven't done an awful lot of this, but in fact, is
this the one where you can kind of go spudge and say replace this area? You're not actually in there with a paint tool, and this is not replacing Photoshop, is it? What are we doing with the edit?
There we go. So we can generate an extra side bit to it. So I click on that and I can generate.
It's all square, which is very frustrating. Is Midjourney square as well, Tim, or 4:3, or is it 16:9?
I think they're all 4:3. They're all square, yeah.
So this is super useful to be able to make it. Whoa!
It just adds on to the scene. That's amazing.
That was hiding the best bit. That's awesome. Can you do that for the other side as well, Grant?
Let's do it. Oh, can I? Oh, it's not letting me. Oh, accept. Sorry. I had to accept it and then back over here. Oh, you can just keep adding down here and up there. Let's go across to.
Oh, someone says you can tell Midjourney the aspect ratio, so you can change it. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Yeah.
I'll zoom out a bit of this. Oh, that's.
And once again, I mean, this is really cool concept art, really cool images. You could have like loading screens for your game, background screens.
Oh,
that didn't quite make sense.
But that's cool on its own, though. Like that's
it might be because I didn't overlap it. So do you see what I did there? So if I overlap a little bit, there we go. Let's try that. You see, I'm a bit new to this.
The reds and the crates and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, interesting. A sprite sheet. That'd be interesting. Hey, Tim, again, sorry, I feel like I'm kind of remote controlling you guys, but I'm excited by your expertise in this. That's interesting.
It's replicating this area, isn't it? And I probably need to overlap it even more, really.
What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to request. I'm so excited. Yeah, what are the other buttons doing here?
This could totally just give you the ability to like generate a tile map, though, right? Like find all the cool, interesting pieces that you want to include. It's obviously going to include, you need to do some cleanup, but like you could totally like use this as a base.
Did that do anything? Oh, it's generating. Yeah.
It's still generating.
The other thing you can do is you can bring in an existing image into here and say, make something similar to this. I don't know if you guys have played around. Can Midjourney do that, Tim, or is it just DALL-E?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
It didn't really improve things, did it?
Thanks, Ascendant Stoic. They've just pointed out that you can change it with the arrows at the bottom of the screen as well. Love it.
Damn. So it's giving you variants each time. It's giving you some options.
I typed in Rick Davidson with a dog scooting along the floor, and it gave you a cane, Rick. It thinks you're really old, and I didn't do that.
Let's have a look.
It gave you a cane in like all of them.
Put on a couple of kilograms as well, might I add. Thanks, Midjourney. Guess who's not my favorite AI art generator anymore?
This one got the bald right, though.
There's some emotion in that, though. Look at the one with all of them, actually. It's like, a sad old man with his
It's like
loyal
a
dog.
sad rendition of Rick Davidson and his
It's pretty much
draggy
my
dog.
life, isn't it? Thanks, Tim. Hey, I'm just gonna go weep in the corner for a while.
You could tell like faces it's not the best at, you know. But
That's really, really quite cool. Okay, I like. We're getting some battle going on here now. I'm not sure who's winning. Maybe chat can tell us who they think is winning so far. Grant, could you unleash your full creativity and show us DALL-E 2? Like, what? Create a thing for us. I.e., just go for it. Whatever you want to do.
Who knows? I quite like taking ideas from chat. Really, that's good fun. But maybe we can adapt them and try and make them.
Okay,
even
I've
better.
got something a little bit controversial if you guys are up for it. I know I'm kind of squishing this into a bit of a competitive live stream, but why not? We can see the chat that's coming from Grant's YouTube channel. It's because we see it highlighted on our thingy in purple. So let's have a GameDev.tv channel versus a Grant Abbitt channel to see who can come up with the cooler thing. So anyone who's watching on Grant's channel, throw out a couple of words, maybe just 3 words each. And anyone on the GameDev.tv channel, 3 words, just 3 words, not the whole sort of shebang. And then from that, we'll pick some good words. So let's have a look. And after we do this one, I think we really need to talk about the legalities of all this and copyright and all that kind of stuff to get into that conversation. But let's see whose community comes up with the better words and then which engine comes up with the better. So Grant is going to be represented by DALL-E 2.
Winter, snow, lonely.
Winter,
that's
snow,
got a
lonely.
vibe to it.
Thank you very much, Sheila. And
Gorilla Surge in Space, Satanic Duck Skull. Well, look at Grant's channel. The creativity is flowing. Come on, GameDev.tv channel.
All the creative people.
You can do it. Epic Space Abyss.
Man, I really want to know what a satanic duck looks like now, though.
It's actually a test to see if anyone watching on the GameDev.tv channel is awake. You guys are here, but come on, give us some words. Avocado Fire. Technically, that's 5-6 words.
That's quite good, though. I think that could work nicely.
Hyper. No love for
Solar Punk. Solar Punk. I love that.
Solar Punk. Okay, good. Halloween Jack-o'-lantern, Tiger Burning Night. What do you think, Tim? So, Tim, you pick the words you think the 3 that you really like. So the exercise here is just what happens when you put in 3 words. So Grant's going to put in his 3 words. He's got winter, snow, lonely.
That was one of the first suggestions, and I quite like it. Winter, snow, lonely.
First in, best dress. Yeah.
All right.
Good.
I'm going with satanic duck's skull. I'm going to see.
Someone knows the Tim Ruswick. Just put the word skull in there, and he's like, done. Okay, so here we go. Oh, it's come up with photorealistic.
Wow, wow.
Someone's taken an actual photo. We haven't explored that much, have we? The whole does it look like a photo's taken? Nice.
It really does.
Flaming luchador
DALL-E
penguin
2 wins in terms of speed. Well, on the
well, you're on the paid version though, right, Grant?
No.
Oh, you don't. Okay, never mind.
No, it's just credits though. Credits in the same way. I should have said that. Yeah, credits.
Yeah, you get 50 credits. Still 50, I think, when you sign up just to get hooked, and then you have to pay. I forget, like $10 for 100 credits or something or other. So both of them, you get a free trial, and then you have to pay. Let us know, Tim, when you. Whoa!
That's pretty. Good. That's pretty awesome. Like that's not what I expected, but like. That's
that one in the top right, I would say, is I like that one the best.
It's not photorealistic, but it's pretty awesome.
You didn't ask for that though, did you? Yeah.
But you could totally like take this, for example, and then cut it out and make some kind of like key art or concept art, or like I said, like this would be a great trading card. Like you could imagine this on a Magic the Gathering card, you know, like that kind of stuff. It would work really well for.
So let's have a quick touch on that. What are all the ways that this art is ready now? So trading card art straight away, you could just sit there for hours and just make all of your, your collectible card game stuff. Probably icons, I think it could be used for quite, effectively. Concept art, loading screens, and background images. If you're running along in your platform and you want something in the background, if you wanted to have billboards in your game, whether it's 2D or 3D game, you could have images on the billboard, paintings on the wall, etc.
Right.
Um, in terms of putting into the game, in addition to all the idea generation type stuff, um,
I
can
like
you
as
guys?
well the idea that as a starting point, so some of those pictures or these pictures here, for example, you could then draw on top of as your base, and even
Right.
that sort of weird duck skull. You could even trace around that and create a 3D object from it. I quite like that starting point idea.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
I think it's really good for the initial phase of creation, especially for something like, I know, Grant, you've got a lot of like artists and stuff, and there was a question that like right here, um like sort of I don't understand why people are so excited to lose the process of having an image in your own head and bring it to life. Why would I want an AI to do all the creative parts of creating? So I think there's a couple things to that. Like, one is, for game development, there's a lot of people that make video games that aren't necessarily artists, or aren't actually necessarily interested in the aspect of art, but they want the art to exist, right? So there's that. The other part is, I think any artist realizes at some point, like, you need additional inputs to kind of be creative. Like, you've seen us sit here with struggle with prompts. Like, sometimes you just stare at a blank canvas and it's just uncomfortable. So generating something to kind of start that whole concept in your head, I think is kind of important. And then there's also like the tool aspect of it, right? Like, just like you go in Photoshop and you might edit a photo, you might change things. This helps you get variations on kind of what you're thinking, or think about things in a different perspective, or about how things, like Grant is now using the winter prompt and changing it, getting different concepts and stuff, different perspectives, even this, like, different locations, or like the way that cameras are faced, or the way that cameras capture stuff, all that stuff. I think that's plenty of reasons to kind of want to generate stuff like this.
So another question here, from Sheila: can these AI images, making programs also make photorealistic images that could be used as fake news, which might be dangerous? So most of the ones I've looked at so far have rules in terms of you're not allowed to do anything inappropriate, sexual, using actual people, celebrities, all that kind of stuff. So they're attempting to get around it, but I think that's because these are the more ethical ones. But absolutely, there's going to be the less ethical AI generator come out, and yeah, soon enough it'll be very, very easy to make an image that looks like it's inappropriate, or that taking someone and doing fake news. But Photoshop can do that as well. So I don't think that's going to open up a whole door of tomfoolery that we haven't had already. It's just going to mean
Right.
the 12-year-olds out there are going to have more access to it, as opposed to well, I guess 12-year-olds can be great at Photoshop as well, but it'll just mean more people can make nonsense, I guess.
What I've got here is an image that won an art competition in Colorado, and it was a Mid-Journey piece of art. And this, I think, raises some really interesting questions, doesn't it? First, that they were kind of open about it. They said created with Mid-Journey or something along those lines. So they obviously, not many people know what Mid-Journey is yet. Not enough people by the sound of things. But apparently some of the judges said they would have chosen it anyway, even if they knew that it was an AI piece, because it didn't break the rules. It was still a digital piece of art. And
Right.
I think this is, well, what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think it's changed the playing field a little bit, right? So I think if this person hadn't shared the fact that it was created with Midjourney, they tried to hide that, I think that might be, a problem. I think the fact that they're upfront about it, I still do think it counts as art. I think the art of learning how to talk to this machine and iterate and change, I think, is its own kind of art, in the same way that, like, video editing used to be literally taking film and cutting it and then taping it together, right? But now you can just do it all on a machine and it's a lot quicker and faster. I think AI art is the same thing. It's a lot quicker and faster and it's a different tool for using, kind of the things that you want to do. It does change the playing field, because you definitely can't put an old school video editor that's going to cut up film versus a video editor that has all these crazy tools and After Effects and all this stuff together and judge them the same way, because they're not using the same tools. But I think that it's not going to replace artists. I think artists are going to learn to use this as a tool, just like anything else.
I think when I first saw this, I thought that is really good. Like I know there's a lot of prompts going into it, but from an AI point of view, it needs to have a really deep understanding of what makes for good composition and good color,
Right.
and it's amazing. There was a question earlier about, or someone was noting the whole copyright slash ethics of having a gigantic database of real people's real work, and then having the computers look at that and say, okay, I'm going to take all that information and then generate something from it. And I think that's the gray area. It's the database stuff.
Sorry, I've got a take on that. And what the computer is doing is it's looking at lots of images. And when I tell students to start a piece of artwork, I say, look at lots of images within that area
exactly.
of X. So the computer's doing exactly the same thing that I tell my students to do. I do appreciate, and I know where people are coming from when they say, but it's stealing people's images. It's not quite as simple as that, but I do appreciate that there's a fine line, isn't there? And it's not quite clear. Is this were those images did people want to share their images with a computer, and they didn't have any choice on it, but they do want to share them with people because they want people to see their images, and we people like me take ideas from those images and use them in my own images. So it's very closely related, I would say, but I can see why people are upset about it in some ways.
Yeah, it is very similar to how a human learns, right? Like, I know my personal art style, I really liked Binding of Isaac and I really liked South Park, and then I started combining those two and working on those two, and I came up with my own little art style just based on that kind of stuff. So in a set, essentially, I did what the AI did. I just took a lot longer. It's one of those things. I think if this software was copying chunks and pieces, if it was retrofitting stuff, if it was like shoving stuff together, I think it would be a problem. I think it's literally learning what styles mean and what directions and what these different like color palettes are and which ones work together. I think it's learning, and I think that's what kind of separates it out.
I think the fundamental issue as well, Tim, is building on your point, Grant, is when an artist doesn't give permission for their work to be part of the database. And so then that gets into that gray area. And you guys might have an opinion on this as well, but I paid a lot of attention around the time that photography changed, because I know some folks who are photographers. And I remember way back when I was having wedding photos taken, because my wife's like, we need wedding photos. I'm like, oh, do we have to? It's hot. And okay, fine. And there was a conversation around that time where the photographer was saying, cool, you can pay for us to be there, you can pay for us to take the photos, and you can pay for us to print the photos, but we own the photos. And for me, that was reprehensible. It was ridiculous. I'm like, it's a photo of me that I paid you to take. How on earth do you own it? It's like, because that's my art. That's, I own it. That's my creativity. I'm, no, you're providing a service. If I hire a guy with a shovel to dig me a hole, he doesn't own the hole. Like, he came and I paid him for his labor. So I think there was a real transition where photographers previously were artists, where they would sell you the right to their art, which for me as a consumer, I hated that. That's not at all what I thought the transaction was supposed to be. And now in today's day and age, so many people have cameras and camera phones, etc., that it's really evolved that relationship. And it's maybe if someone's taking photos for artwork, then they're doing prints, etc. But I think those days of a photographer saying, you pay me to take wedding photos, that's my art. It's like, I think that's evolved beyond that. So I think we're going to see in the AI art space as well, there's going to be that whole phase of, but this is being generated from art that I put into there. There's going to be people upset because potentially their livelihoods are going to be threatened. So they're going to try to protect that. And then over time, my prediction is that the wave of momentum is just going to wash over those people. And it's like, well, you had, your golden era, sorry, has come and gone. You need to evolve or die is going to be a little bit of the conversation. And that's not nice if you're in that profession, but I think that's just the reality. You can't avoid it. It's the same as photography. It's just has to go that way.
Yeah, there's always going to be an element of fear as well when a new technology like this starts interfering, as it were, into particularly into people's jobs. So when CGI was first coming in, it was the stop motion animators. What are they going to do now? The prop productions. They're still going, but there was a worry. But then there is a whole new area of work that's being created. Do you think that AI will just replace or eventually replace? How long? What do you guys think?
I don't ever see it replacing anything. I see it just like CGI didn't replace stop motion. It became a stylistic thing, right? Like it's a style choice now. And I think if this AI in my mind for generating 2D images is kind of very similar to the auto driving car discussion, right? Like it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. It's going to disrupt economies because now we have cars that are going to drive themselves. Well, what happens to truck drivers? What happens to delivery drivers? What happens to all that stuff? And I understand the agreement that like, hey, my job is being stolen from me. I totally get that. And I'm not discounting that and how devastating that's got to be, especially for someone that's been, in a career doing that. But at the same time, like, I think we have to be careful to not just immediately demonize the technology just because it's going to eliminate jobs. I think good technology that can change the world generally does disrupt industries. That's generally like what happens with startups and stuff. So I think everyone should decide for themselves really whether this is something that they want to be a part of or not. I don't think the right answer is it's bad, we shouldn't talk about it. We should just pretend it's not there. I think we should talk about it. And even if we think it's bad, I think we should talk about it because it's coming and it's already here and it's already good. And denying that fact is not going to really help anybody,
Yeah. I see. It's, I don't know how it's like in the country you guys are in. We represent Australia, UK, and US in this conversation, which is kind of cool. And side note, feel free to keep making some art in there if you guys want to be having some background images for people to look at. That's pretty cool. When I go to the supermarket today versus going to the supermarket 10 years ago, from a consumer point of view, when you went to the checkout, it was more personable but more frustrating. So there were 10 checkouts with someone there, big lineups, everyone putting all their junk onto the thing. You've got the person getting the groceries for 2 weeks, and that was just the process. And then over time, it's evolved. So now when I go to the supermarket, I still have 1 or 2 of those where the person's there putting the stuff on the machine, but there's a self-serve area where there's 15 machines, and the line's moving with velocity through that area. Or there's got now where it's a hybrid of the two, where it's the belt you feed it onto and you're scanning it yourself, but it's a larger kind of area. And so when they first started doing the machines to replace the people, there was conversation. What's going to happen to all the jobs? What are all the people who depend upon their supermarket job? And I think it's going to change the opportunity for service for the supermarket. So there's still a handful of people at the registers, but instead of them just being like having to be like the robot, they're walking around helping. They're saying, how you doing today? Hey, we've got this free thing for you, or customer service support, fixing issues, whatever. So I think the supermarket doesn't have to now just be like, is it Amazon that wants to do, you go in, you go boop, 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 and there's no people ever. It just kind of grabs it and delivers it to you. That might be the extreme, but I think we're still going to want customer service. It's going to change the nature of the people. So you're not having to do that repetitive task. You can do value add stuff. And so there'll be different skills that you need, different people skills, rather than just, scan the item skills. And I think there's going to be an evolution in the industry as well, that art is not going to say, now there's no jobs. just machines do it all. It's going to be the jobs are different. And I think that's what we're seeing in a lot of these AI areas. The jobs are just different, but it's not like humans go away completely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, this is you. Is this the one you guys brought up before? Sorry, I was rabbiting on and a question came up. But professional concept artists and have been for more than 15 years. Definitely scary time. Not sure where I'll fit in the games industry in the next 5 years. There's a good point before. I might have been by Avocado Fire, just saying that it's hard to have a. Well, you guys are saying this as well. It's hard to have a good eye for these things. Like you need to be able to recognize. So if we look at what Grant's got on his screen there, is that good or not? Is that the right color or not? Is that the right size or not? Is that the right position or not? The AI doesn't know necessarily what it is that's going to be good for your audience, for your thing that you want. It's just saying, you told me some stuff. Here's an idea. Here's an option. The skill's going to come from not necessarily the craft of moving your hand, but the craft of knowing what works for the particular thing I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's a skill all on its own. I think concept artists in general, and I'm nobody. My opinion doesn't matter, but this is just my perspective and how I see things.
It does.
But because I'm not a concept artist and I'm not directly affected by this, so I'm just saying it could seem insensitive if I'm just like, well, I think you should do,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think it's a tool that you can use in your creation. If you get paid to do concept art, I think you can use this to help make concepts. You know what I mean? Like I think it's something that you can kind of integrate in your tool set. And obviously there are like legal and ethical things right now, and we haven't really got it all figured out, but at the very least you can generate concepts. So I made a game called Murder Bunnies, which I tried to generate a murder bunny with knives and teeth out in 2D vector. And this is completely different from anything that I've drawn in Murder Bunny. At the same time, it's super clever. Like this looks like a hat with a bunny and then 2 ears. Like I think that's awesome. I would have never thought of that, right?
Yeah.
I could totally make a hat like that now, right? And that's without me using this image. That's without me like promoting it or anything like that. That's just I use it as a concept, right? And this looks like carrots or whatever. Like I love this style. I don't even know how it said 2D vector, dark, evil, scary, but this like just black and white sky was really cool.
Just a quick note. I think Grant was having internet issues, so we didn't boot him from the chat. Like, get out of here, Grant.
Goodbye, Grant.
He'll be back. Yeah, just at the point where I wanted him to talk more about how to use it for 3D art. So hopefully he gets his connection back. But this is what you're showing here, Tim. I see is the fundamental reason that in this first generation of AI art, or first consumer generation, that it's not going to replace artists, because you've already got a style for your game and you might have been able to drag that style in, but you're looking for something very particular. You're like, no, not quite like that. It needs to be, it needs to be in this style or this way or this size. And I think you can type in a million prompts into the AI, but it's like, okay, I think these words mean this, or I think the image you've got, you want me to do that. So if it can recognize your style and then create something really good that fits in very well into that style, I think that's when it's going to become very powerful, because you get an art director to come up with the style, the direction, a couple of assets, and then you can have the AI generate additional things. So if you've got a boss enemy, you could say, make a second boss, but with horns instead of ears, and then AI could make you a second one of those. So I think that could be the value of it.
Right. And I think especially for concept artists too, a lot of it is dealing with concepts. And I think a lot of the skill there is, one, the aesthetic knowledge, but also like the creativity. And I think this still requires human creativity. Like it's still, you're creating this prompt. You have to learn how to talk to this machine and give it ideas. It doesn't generate stuff on its own. I'm sure there's a text generator that someone could hook to an AI and just make a button that could just generate ideas for you, which could be cool. But I don't think it'll ever have the same effect as like to be honest, I would love to see a concept artist work with this tool and see what they make. Because I don't think I could create anything near what a concept artist could if they actually put their thoughts and creativity into this.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it'd
I
be
think the
awesome.
thing is you don't need to be, so there's two parts of being a concept artist. There's probably a lot more. One is the eye for it, like the idea, the just the aesthetic, that you've got an eye for art aesthetic and you know what looks good and
Yeah,
you understand composition and lighting and emotion, etc. That's one part. And then the other part is the skill of being able to move your hand to draw the lines, to paint the things.
right.
And I think they both take a long time to cultivate over time. I think the reason I'm excited by AI art is I don't want to invest the 5 years of drawing every single day to be an amazing concept artist. But I don't perceive, for right or wrong, I don't perceive that it would take me 5 years to learn the craft of the aesthetic. I could study that. I could absorb it. It's not going to come down to hand-eye coordination. It's going to come down to brain power, which for me is something that is brain power. It seems learnable and achievable. Something that's hand-eye coordination. It's like maybe some people are just cut out for that and some are not. So I think
Yeah,
if you have the interest in
for sure.
mastering AI art, I think you could in a matter of months as opposed to a matter of years.
Yeah. So Super Awesome Coffee asks if we've covered the ownership and licensing. So let's go ahead and do that for Mid Journey, and just so everybody can be aware. So there's kind of two rules here. So in Mid Journey specifically with this AI, anything that you create, you are giving a perpetual, non-exclusive, sublicensable, blah blah blah. All these words. You're giving full license to Mid Journey to use it.
So if
But
you create it using Midjourney, you're saying.
right, if you
So
create an
those
image
things
using
we've
Mid Journey,
created today with our keywords, Midjourney owns all that stuff.
well, so this is where it's different, right? So um subject to the license
Can you,
above, you
sorry, Tim,
own
can you
all
increase your
assets.
screen font? Sorry to interrupt.
I
Can you
can't on
increase your
Discord,
font a
no.
little bit there, or is that not doable?
No, it's not something I can do on
Okay,
Discord.
yeah, right.
This says subject to the above license, you own all assets you create with the services. This does not apply if you fall under the exceptions below, and there's a few exceptions for corporations and all that stuff. So basically, you own these images, but
Mm,
Midjourney themselves has a universal license to it. They can use for whatever they want. Now,
okay,
so it's really exciting from a game developer perspective because you technically own these images and you can do whatever you want, and it's irrevocable license that you can just use forever. But I think the counter argument to this that we should share is that if this AI is using other images that are copyrighted to generate these images, there might be some legal issues that they can't properly assign ownership because they've used some images from other places. Now, this is one of those things where I'm not a lawyer. I don't know any of this stuff, right? This is something that you're going to have to decide for yourself, whether this is okay or whether it's not. Some people are against it. Some people are for it. Some people don't think Midjourney has the right to assign trademarks or copyrights. Some people do because the AI is just learning like humans are. We've had this actual discussion in this chat in this exact stream. So it's up to you to determine whether or not this is something you want. But according to Midjourney themselves, you own the stuff you generate, which
right.
is cool.
So that's the ownership conversation about when we create a thing, we can use that thing and we own the thing. What about the copyright conversation of, do we need to fear that in a year's time, a little bit like the music industry conversation, they took a while to sort of figure out how they slotted into all of this stuff. But in a year's time, if an artist who created an image that looks kind of similar to the image you've created from Midjourney, that might have a similar composition or might have a character face that's been, replicated, whether it was accidental or not. Do we need to fear retribution, if that's the right word?
Well,
Uh,
yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing, and I think Eddie Prince is kind of asking that too. Like, how do we know that they really own the images for all their data set? How do we know? And I'll tell you my perspective. I can't tell you the end all be all of that. Is I don't necessarily trust the licensing. So like, I got really excited because I like making trading card games, and this art would be absolutely fantastic. But in my brain, I'm like, should I generate all this art for a card game of mine and then sell it? Like, legally, technically, I could do that, but do I trust it enough because it's such a gray area that there won't be any problems down the line? Not quite. It's just a toy for me currently. Um, It doesn't mean it's not going to change or any of that, but just from my perspective, I'm not really sure. I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand all this stuff as deep as you probably should to be able to use something commercially. But yeah, that's just my perspective.
Yeah, and this is something that we need to be really careful about in our business, because if we make a training course and in that training course we've used an asset that we've, for example, hired someone to make an art asset for us, or we've purchased it from somewhere, or we've used it. Welcome back, Grant. Good to have you back with us. Thank you. That if we do something without realizing or knowing it, then we can be liable because we were the people who eventually ended up using it. So I think there's a little bit of proceed with caution at this stage, I think, because who the heck knows? You might end up getting in trouble.
There's I don't know whether you've covered it, but there is a point I'd sort of like to make about the AI art at the moment as it currently stands. If, in fact, can I share my screen again? If you don't, do you mind me jumping in?
It's all right.
Taking it away from me, Grant.
So the AI that won the prize. Let's. Can I make that full? Well, not too far full screen. It's a wonderful image, but there are elements to it that you can, as you look in, and you get used to Mid-Journey and how it works, you can see that it's AI generated. You've got this sort of features that blur into each other and aren't defined. And the use of colors is absolutely wonderful, but it does sort of make you think as you start looking at it and you start creating your own art, you start to realize that that's AI generated. And I think there's going to become a little bit of a fad for this artwork, and then it's going to, because it does go in waves, it's fashionable. This will be fashionable for a little while, and then people will get annoyed about it and sick of it, and you'll probably get people who have portfolios full of this stuff, and they'll probably be discredited eventually because, oh, that's clearly AI, and there's going to be a bit of a fight and a bit of a battle in the next years to come. That we, as Rick was saying about, you be careful what you're using. So be very clear when you are using it, if you are using it, and be aware that people are going to start noticing this. As you can, most people probably, you've seen the deep fakes, you recognize them straight away as deep fake. Their mouths aren't quite moving quite right, but the first time you saw it, you thought, wow, that's amazing. And then you see another one, you think, that's a deep fake, isn't it? And you can kind of tell straight away. Now, I know a few years in the future, this AI will get better and better and learn how to avoid these problems. But for now and for the next few years, I think we're going to be seeing this sort of trend, and it's going to be still fairly obvious to us.
So, Grant, a technical art question for you. This question here, Jalen, what do you guys recommend for blending and color matching several AI art features to make
the most muscular cat ever,
and not gaudy, scrapbookish? That question, as well as just the overall question of when you generate something through an AI art generator, how do you touch it up? What are you looking for? From a getting into Photoshop, or how would you go about doing that? Just any of these images?
Yeah, there's two issues. It's your starting point, and then how you choose to move on from that. So good understanding, like we were saying earlier, of what to type in to get the right results, because like the muscly cat there was quite good, and it stood on its own, and you could easily take that and then edit it. But some of these sort of more background, where it's all blurry and merged together, are going to be more difficult. So if you're, well, obviously you've got to use the tool in the correct way to start with, and then building from that. I would certainly say it's, for me, as wanting to, I don't know, I would want to move on further than what the AI is giving me. So take that and then move it to the next level, get my own designs in there, and use it, integrate it into what I'm working on. So always want to touch it up in some way, add some details, and not just through the text text prompts, but with my own artistic visions and skill, I suppose, what little there is sometimes in my art. But hopefully you can see that there's two aspects. There's the beginning stage, and there's your skill afterwards. So, and I think both are important.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of this stuff could use some sort of cleanup, and I think with cleanup, that's where you need the artist, right? Like this,
Yeah.
like it makes weird mistakes. Like look at these hands, and these hands are just missing, right? And
Yep.
this is just like a
Those
triangle
are
for
some
a head.
abs, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it gets the
A 20
muscular
pack.
part, but like, so you could totally take this and then use your art skills to fix it, right? And then make a piece of art out of it.
Good.
That could be really cool.
Good point from Marcus as well. For the next game jam, it'd be interesting to use, if rather than having just primitives or cubes or programmer art in your game, to get anything that looks like it's been created is possibly going to be an advantage over that. So it might be a little bit broken, a little bit smudged, a little bit things merging together, and not the greatest, but it's going to give you a game a style, and that could be the style for the next year or two. That's AI generated art is a bit more abstract, is a little bit more mushed together, is a little bit computer generated. That could be the style that works for the next little phase.
Let's try something crazy. Let's try 3D environment, low poly, Grant Abbitt. Let's see. Let's see.
Someone
while
was
you're-
asking about whether there's one that can do text to 3D a little bit earlier, and I've seen some paid for ones, so you have to actually have a license for, but nothing quite like this that's open, from what I can tell at the moment, anyway, without going through some quite complex processes of downloading and unpacking programs and all sorts. But maybe you more techie people can correct me on that, but for simple, like we got here, website that you can go and type something in and get a 3D model, it's not quite there yet unless you're willing to pay for it.
Yep.
Let's see what comes up for that. Yeah. So, I mean, summary of kind of all of our points. I don't think this is going to change the world or drastically destroy the artists industry. I don't think this is going to steal money out of the pockets of artists anytime soon. I think it's a tool that you can use even if you are an artist. I think it's something that you can absolutely use. If you're a game developer, you can definitely use it. Concepts and stuff like that, it's great for. But I think I think it's useful. I don't necessarily trust the copyrights and stuff because I just don't know enough about it. But I would totally use it for any kind of concepts and ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really like the idea of generating base models using this. There's a little bit of that. Okay, I need a dog. You can go buy it. Well, I guess you can just go get an asset pack, can't you? Start off with a dog. But if you say, okay, I want a dog, but I want it a bit bigger and I want it 2 heads, then AI generated can be like, boom, there you go. You've got that. So I think 3D art is going to be a very interesting realm of AI art generation that can possibly save us a lot of time as well.
Oh, that's a good point from Jalen. Generating game textures. Yep, I think Blender has an add-on now that you can generate procedural textures for games and so forth. So that's certainly on its way. There's some great things about AI, like automatic unwrapping and automatic retopology, and those sort of things that are really laborious. I'm really excited that AI are going to take over and maybe start doing a better job than we can. And you think, oh, that's brilliant. And anything that speeds up that sort of creative process, because those I would say are blockers to me for creativity, where you have to learn something very technical and it just stops you. But it takes so much time to learn that it stops you being creative. That when AI sort of gets rid of that laborious process and you can be more creative, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, to be able to say to AI, just clean up.
Yeah,
it's the other way around, isn't it? At the moment, what we're looking at is a lot of idea generation, which is kind of handy concept art, which I feel if you spend enough time on Google or stock images, you can find a lot of these things out there already. It might not necessarily be something usable, but the idea is there. But it's the cleanup that then needs the human skill. I'd love it the other way around, where I could hack my way through some sort of here's a 3D robot that's kind of roughly the shape that I want, that I do quickly, and then AI, can you clean it up for me and make it look pretty? That for me would be super useful. Doing it the other way around as well. So if anyone out there is building some AI, could you please do that?
Yeah,
Probably not.
Spider
Okay,
Cat
so
is
we've
pretty
talked.
cool.
That is pretty cool. So we've talked a lot about the role of the artist. I would say the consensus is there will still be artists in the future. If you're investing time and love into getting good at art, I don't think it's going to go away. Just keep an eye on AI generated stuff so you know how to weave your skills into that and use it as a tool to improve your workflow, as opposed to saying, well, at some point I won't be needed at all. Just use it as a tool to improve your workflow. And evolve. Just that's the way to do it. But I think continue to practice your 3D skills. Continue to practice your illustration and drawing skills. I don't think those skills are going to become irrelevant in the future. I think they'll still be relevant and useful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit about the legalities of it. You know, these things are drawing from databases. Is that ethical? Is it not? We've talked about how we copy, borrow, get inspired by things out there. Why can't a computer do that? You know, it's drawing from lots and lots of points of inspiration. If you're learning to play the guitar, you learn all the classic songs first of all. You don't start you know on day one as a singer songwriter making your own stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that's just the way we learn. So why can't a computer learn that way as well? So I think that would be, if I understand correctly, that's the consensus of the panel today in terms of the ethics. And then from a legality point of view, you know read the terms, but normally you own the stuff you create, so you can use it. But the place you created it from wants to have some rights as well, just so they don't get in trouble in the future. Rights to use it, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fun. AI is fascinating. I think we're only going to see this get bigger and crazier, and it's going to expand into more industries, and it's going to be a whole thing. I do think this technology wave is coming, whether people like it or not. And I think we obviously need to make sure that it's compatible with the way that we do things, and make sure that it's not going to destroy, stuff that we have. But I think we've got to work with it, not against it. That's kind of my view with it.
Yeah, I think that's the important message I would want to say to people is that there's going to be a lot of people who are scared of this, in fact, and worried about their careers. And I wouldn't fight against it, because you'd end up losing that battle, really, if you get angry about it and upset, and then you sort of give up because of it. You really you've got to roll with it and move with it and develop with it, and use it for your own creativity as best you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think one last. Oh no! Wait, Spider Donkey Superhero. That was what I meant to. I think we could do that as we end. Imagine a Spider Donkey Superhero.
Yeah.
Let's see what that does.
And if you have any questions, so we'll take a last question. Sorry, there's been a ton of questions today that we haven't got to. Apologies for that. And I know there's been a few people saying, "Hey, read my question." So thanks for joining us live for those people who have. And apologies if we didn't get to your question. But if you've got one that you really, really want to ask, particularly for Grant, we don't have him on the live cast every week. So if you've got a question for Grant, that'd be awesome. Thanks for joining us today, Grant, by the way. It's lovely to have you here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Absolutely love it. This is a fascinating topic, and it's been very enjoyable. I'm just quickly looking, actually. There's someone, well, their name's a little bit unusual, but their question is, what's the point of learning 3D art and Blender if AI can do it for you? And they put serious question afterwards. And it is a serious question that lots of people are asking, but we are a fair way away from that, and there'll always be a role for you within that using the AI. It won't completely take over for a good many years, and then I think if it's taken over that, it's taken over lots of things, and maybe we need to, as a society, to worry about how we're going to find work anymore and things. There's big questions to ask there, but I wouldn't panic about it at this stage. Follow your passions, follow your dreams, and work with it, I think, is our key message.
We needed some epic music behind that. That was a good speech.
Exactly. Yeah. view it as a tool, not as a replacement. It's
Yeah.
like Photoshop or Blender. They're tools. AI art, I think, is going to be a tool as well. That
Yep.
top left one is so. He's a wrestler, isn't he? He's a like.
I like that it combines Spider-Man with a donkey, and then it
Yeah.
also made a spider donkey. Like
Mm.
it's looking at it from different perspectives, right? And this one's got like a silhouette of a donkey, but it's a spider. You know, like this is what I mean about creativity. Is like given that prompt, I wouldn't have created this many different variations of it probably. So I don't know what he's missing a head here. So that one's a little. I think a donkey leg is coming out in the wrong area. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Cool. Well, gentlemen, thanks for joining us today, and everyone who's watched in the chat, or watched and chatted in the chat. Thanks for all your input and questions and conversation. We really appreciate you guys all hanging out with us today. You folks hanging out with us today, and Tim, thank you for driving Mid-Journey. Grant, thank you for driving DALL-E 2, and thanks for all the wisdom and awesomeness. And we will be back again same time next week, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, as long as daylight savings doesn't happen and knock us out of course, but we'll still probably be Eastern time, 5 p.m. So thanks, gentlemen, for joining us today, and thanks all you folks in the watching us live for hanging out. Lovely to be here today.
Have a good night, everybody.